Humans, always causing problems, I muttered, adjusting my ocular enhancers as the small pink creature entered our command center. The human female Tessa Morgan, according to her designation badge, stumbled into the briefing room with that characteristic awkward gait their species was known for. 2 legs? How inefficient. The Council of 7 Systems had reluctantly accepted humans into the Galactic Federation only 20 orbital cycles ago, and frankly, many of us still questioned the decision. Sorry I'm late, she gasped, clutching a data tablet against her uniform. And the transport tube malfunctioned again. I clicked my mandibles in annoyance. Malfunction? Or perhaps your timing mechanisms are simply inadequate, Human Morgan? The briefing commenced precisely 8 minutes ago. My name is Zorn Vex, Senior Intelligence Coordinator for the Galactic Federation's Security Division. I am Arcturian, a species known for our perfect punctuality, flawless record-keeping, and of course our magnificent exoskeletons. Standing nearly 3 meters tall with 6 limbs and compound eyes that miss nothing, we are the backbone of the Federation's bureaucracy. Commander Lux Taro, our Centaurian supervisor, shot me a warning glance with 3 of his 7 eyes. The remaining 4 continued monitoring the holographic display. Take your station, Specialist Morgan, Taro said, his voice a rumbling bass that vibrated the floor plates. We were discussing the diplomatic mission to Sector 9. The human nodded, scurrying to the lowest-ranked workstation at the far end of the chamber. Fitting, really. Humans were the newest addition to the Federation and thus occupied the bottom rungs of our carefully structured hierarchy. Their technology was primitive, their physical capabilities laughable, and their emotional volatility absolutely horrifying. As I was saying, continued Commander Taro, the Draconians have requested Federation assistance with their internal power struggles. The situation has grown complex. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what complex meant when discussing Draconians. The Draconians. Even thinking their name sent a shiver through my exoskeleton. They were the apex predators of the known galaxy, massive, scale-covered behemoths, standing 5 meters tall with razor-sharp claws and teeth that could shred reinforced durasteel. Their species had evolved as solitary hunters on a death world where everything, even the vegetation, was lethal. They were feared warriors, brilliant tacticians, and temperamental allies at best. They were also, by unanimous agreement, the most terrifying species ever to join the Federation. The Draconian High Council has specifically requested a diplomatic envoy, Taro continued, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. They are on the brink of civil war, and their leadership is fractured. Fractured? Barked Senior Officer Quicks, a Regellian with metallic skin that rippled with anxiety. You mean they are eating each other again? Last time we sent an envoy to mediate their disputes, only half the delegation returned, and most of those needed extensive psychological therapy. A nervous laugh rippled through the command center. Yallow's humor was often our only defense against the harsh realities of interstellar diplomacy. The Draconian situation presents a unique opportunity, Commander Taro pressed on. Their cooperation is essential for stability in 3 sectors. The High Command has deemed this mission critical. I activated my data screen, scanning the mission parameters with growing horror. Sir, with all due respect, they are requesting a small team, 5 members. 5. To enter the heart of Draconian territory during a succession dispute. Volunteers will receive hazard pay at triple the standard rate, Taro announced flatly. The room remained silent. Triple pay wasn't worth becoming a Draconian's lunch. I will go. All heads, including my own 27 neck segments, swiveled toward the small voice at the end of the room. Human Morgan had raised her hand, her face displaying that peculiar arrangement of features that indicated determination or indigestion. Human expressions were notoriously difficult to interpret. You? I couldn't help but laugh, the sound clicking through my spiracles. Human, do you understand what Draconians are? What they do? I have studied their culture extensively, she replied, standing straighter. Their honor codes, their hunting rituals, their hierarchical disputes. It was the focus of my graduate work before joining the Federation. Commander Taro looked surprised, all 7 of his eyes blinking in sequence. Your file doesn't mention this specialization, Specialist Morgan. She shrugged that oddly human gesture that could mean anything from indifference to deep thought. No one asked. Humans are usually assigned to maintenance or communications. I didn't think it mattered. It doesn't, I interjected. Academic knowledge is worthless with Draconians. They respect strength, power, and hunting prowess. No offense, human Morgan, but your species ranks near the bottom in all 3 categories. And assessment is outdated, she replied with surprising firmness. Humans may not have natural weapons or imposing size, but we have other attributes. Like what? Your charming tendency to panic. Your bizarre need for constant hydration? I was being rude. But honestly, someone needed to talk sense into this fragile creature. Adaptability, she answered simply, and persistence. We are very good at not dying when everything says we should. Commander Taro made a thoughtful rumbling sound. The mission requires 5 volunteers. So far we have 1. An unusual one, but one nonetheless. I will go, announced Officer Drell, a burly Palladian with armored skin and impressive tusks. My people have ancient ties with the Draconians. They sometimes listen to us, sometimes. Count me in, sighed Quix, the Rigelian. Someone needs to handle communications when everything inevitably goes wrong. Taro nodded. That's 3. We need 2 more. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Fine, I finally said, mandibles clicking in resignation. I will go. My exoskeleton might provide some protection when they start throwing things, trained or people. Commander Taro looked relieved. Excellent. That's 4. Now we just need. The command center doors slid open with a hiss, and every being in the room froze. A Draconian ducked through the doorway, its massive frame barely fitting through the Federation's standard entrance, and 7 meters of rippling muscle covered in iridescent scales, with a head sporting multiple horns and teeth longer than my forearm. Its tail dragged behind it, leaving scratch marks on the polished floor. Federation Commander, the Draconian rumbled, its voice so deep I felt it in my thorax. I am Thraxus Karn, first hunter of the Draconian High Council. I will accompany your delegation to my homeworld. The room's temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. A Draconian? Here? On our station? Commander Taro recovered first. First Hunter Karn, we are honored by your presence. We were just assembling our diplomatic team. Thraxus Karn's massive head swiveled, reptilian eyes scanning each of us with predatory focus. When that gaze landed on me, I fought the instinctive urge to flee. You. The Draconian growled, pointing at me with a claw the size of a combat knife. Arcturian, your kind keeps thorough records. Good. I managed a stiff bow. Senior Intelligence Coordinator Zorn Vex, at your service. Those terrible eyes moved to Quix, Rigelian. Communications Specialist? Quix nodded jerkily. Why, yes, First Hunter. Acceptable. Next came Drell. Palladian Warrior. Your ancestors fought well alongside mine in the Vergon conflicts. Your presence honors the old alliances. Drell thumped his chest in traditional Palladian salute. The Draconian continued scanning the room, then froze. Its massive head tilted in what might have been confusion. What, it growled, is that? It was looking directly at human Morgan. That's Specialist Tessa Morgan, Commander Taro explained carefully. She's human. Their species joined the Federation recently. Human, the Draconian repeated, the word sounding like rocks being crushed. I have not encountered this species. The massive predator moved closer to Morgan's station. To her credit, she didn't flee screaming, which is what any rational being would do when a Draconian approached. Instead, she stood her ground, though I detected the subtle tremor in her limbs that betrayed her fear. First Hunter Karn, she said, inclining her head in what I recognized as the proper Draconian greeting between unequal ranks. Your presence honors us. The Draconian loomed over her, so massive that Morgan disappeared in its shadow. Its nostrils flared, apparently taking in her scent. "You are prey," it stated flatly. I winced. Not a good start to diplomatic relations when one party immediately classifies the other as food. Technically, yes, Morgan admitted with remarkable calm. Humans evolved as pursuit predators, but we are omnivores. Physically, we lack the natural weapons of apex species like yours. The Draconian's head tilted further. "Yet you do not cower." "Would it help if I did?" she asked. Was that humor? Was the human attempting humor with a Draconian? I prepared myself to witness the galaxy's shortest diplomatic mission. To my astonishment, the Draconian made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. No, it would not. It circled Morgan slowly, examining her from all angles like a curiosity in a museum. "You volunteered for this mission?" "Yes, First Hunter." "Why? Your kind has no stake in Draconian politics." Morgan met those terrifying reptilian eyes directly. "The Federation has a stake in galactic stability." "I serve the Federation, and I have studied your species extensively." "Studied?" The word came out as a dangerous hiss. "Academic research," she clarified quickly. "Your hunting techniques honor codes, clan structures, fascinating evolutionary adaptations." The Draconian's tail swished across the floor, leaving more scratch marks. "You find us fascinating?" "Absolutely," Morgan replied, and strangely, I detected no deception in her voice. "Your species developed one of the most complex honor-based societal structures in the galaxy while maintaining the instincts and abilities of apex predators. It's remarkable." Thrax's Karn stared at her for what felt like eternity. Then it did something unexpected. It lowered its massive head to her eye level, a position of extreme vulnerability for a Draconian, exposing the softer scales of its throat. "You will come," it declared. "This human will join the delegation." Commander Taro cleared his throat nervously. "She was already volunteering, First Hunter." "Good." The Draconian straightened to its full, terrifying height. "We depart in 6 hours. Be prepared." With that, the massive creature turned and squeezed back through the doorway, leaving claw marks and a shocked silence in its wake. "Well," said Kix after a long moment, "that was unexpected." "Indeed," I agreed, my mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "What just happened?" All eyes turned to Morgan, who looked as surprised as the rest of us. "I have no idea," she admitted. "But I think it liked me." "Impossible," I scoffed. "Draconians don't like anything except hunting and fighting." "And yet," Commander Taro mused, "First Hunter Karn specifically requested your presence, Specialist Morgan. In Draconian culture, that's significant." Morgan looked thoughtful. "It's called the choosing in their ancient texts. When a high-ranking Draconian shows interest in a specific individual, usually it's another Draconian they are considering as a potential ally or mate." "Mate?" I sputtered. "Surely you don't think—" No, she laughed. "Different species entirely. But the behavior pattern is similar." The inspection, the head-lowering gesture. "It's a sign of potential respect." "Respect? For a human?" Drell looked skeptical. "No offense, Morgan, but your kind isn't exactly renowned across the galaxy." "None taken," she replied with that strange human expression, a smile. "I think they call it. But that might actually be an advantage. We are an unknown quantity to the Draconians." Commander Taro nodded slowly. "Whatever the reason, you have made an impression on our Draconian guest. That could be valuable for the mission." He looked around at our unlikely team. "The Federation transport leaves in 6 hours. I suggest you all prepare thoroughly. This will be challenging." As the briefing dispersed, I found myself walking alongside Morgan toward the preparation area. "Human," I said quietly, "I feel compelled to warn you. Draconian interest is rarely a good thing. They are predators, They play with their food. She looked up at me, her small eyes surprisingly steady. I understand the risks, Coordinator Vex. But someone has to go, and I might actually have something to offer here. Your optimism is either admirable or delusional, I replied. Possibly both. Maybe, she agreed with another of those smile expressions. But here's the thing about humans, Coordinator. We are really good at surprising people. Looking down at this fragile, soft-skinned creature with no natural defenses and inexplicable confidence, I couldn't help but wonder if she might be right. 6 hours later, as our transport ship departed for draconian space with the massive first hunter Thraxus Karn seated uncomfortably close to our human specialist, I had the distinct feeling that we were all about to find out. The journey to Draconia Prime took 3 standard days. 3 days trapped in a Federation transport with a creature that could, and according to several historical accounts, would eat us if sufficiently provoked. Your exoskeleton, rumbled Thraxus Karn on the 2nd day, those massive reptilian eyes fixed uncomfortably on me. How often do you molt? I shifted nervously in my acceleration couch. Annually, First Hunter. Though Federation medical technology has extended the durability of our carapaces considerably. The Draconian's tongue forked and disturbingly long flicked out briefly. We shed our scales continuously. Small replacements, never vulnerable. Evolution's solution to different problems. It was the longest non-threatening statement the Draconian had made since departure. Progress, I supposed. That fascinating adaptation, Morgan chimed in from her station. Your species never experiences a period of vulnerability during growth, unlike most scaled creatures. Thraxus Karn's attention immediately shifted to the human, as it had consistently throughout our journey. Your kind. How do you protect yourselves without natural armor? Morgan smiled. We invented artificial protection. Clothing, shelter, weapons. We adapt our surroundings rather than waiting for evolution to adapt us. Impatient species, the Draconian observed, but without the usual contempt I'd expect. Extremely, Morgan agreed cheerfully. Terribly impatient. It's probably our worst quality. Well, that and our habit of touching things we shouldn't. Was the human bantering? With the Draconian? More surprisingly, was the Draconian responding positively? Officer Quicks caught my compound eye from across the cabin and made the universal gesture for completely insane. I couldn't disagree. We approached Draconian space, announced Drell from the pilot station, receiving automated warnings to identify ourselves or be destroyed. Standard procedure. Thraxus Karn said dismissively. Transmit my personal codes. Transmitting, Quicks confirmed, his metallic fingers dancing across the communications panel. They are hailing us directly? Thraxus Karn rose to his full height, nearly scraping the ceiling of the transport cabin. I will speak to them. The view screen activated, revealing another Draconian whose scales were darker, with streaks of crimson along massive facial ridges. The creature's eyes narrowed at the sight of Thraxus Karn. First Hunter, the Draconian on screen growled, You return with guests. Federation representatives, Thraxus confirmed. By order of the High Council. Half the High Council, corrected the other Draconian. The rest have declared your faction outcast. Entering Draconian space means submission to judgment. Thraxus Karn's tail lashed violently, cracking against a storage compartment hard enough to dent the reinforced metal. Varco's lies. The succession follows ancient law. Ancient law died with the Grand Hunter, snarled the screen Draconian. Power rules now. The communication cut abruptly. Well, I said into the tense silence that followed, this seems like an excellent time to turn around and report that diplomatic relations are, unfortunately, impossible at present. Agreed, said Quicks quickly. Clearly internal matters need resolution before. No. Thraxus Karn's voice cut through the cabin like a blade. We continue. The true High Council awaits. With respect, First Hunter, I ventured cautiously. The situation appears to have deteriorated beyond what our mission parameters anticipated. Federation protocol dictates. Your Federation protocols mean nothing here, the Draconians snapped. This is Draconian space. Draconian rules. What exactly are those rules at the moment? Morgan asked quietly. If there's a succession dispute, which laws are currently recognized? Thraxis Karn turned those predatory eyes toward her. The ancient laws. The trials of succession. When a grand hunter dies without naming a clear successor, the strongest clans compete for dominance. Compete how? Drell asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the unpleasant answer. Combat, Thraxis said simply. Sometimes to submission, often to death. And where do we fit into these trials? Morgan pressed. As Federation representatives, what's our official status? The Draconian's jaw opened slightly, revealing rows of teeth that could crush bone. You are under my protection. My honor-bound guests. And if your faction loses? I couldn't help asking. Thraxis Karn's expression remained unreadable to my Arcturian sensibilities. Then we all die. Splendid, I muttered. Just the sort of diplomatic opportunity one hopes for. Alert. Drell called from the control station, multiple vessels approaching. Draconian warships. Defensive posture. Quix asked, panic evident in his voice. Irrelevant, said Thraxis Karn. Their weapons would destroy us before our shields activated. The view screen lit up again, showing 3 massive Draconian battlecruisers surrounding our tiny transport. These weren't the sleek, standardized vessels of the Federation. Draconian ships were essentially weaponized asteroids, chunks of space rock hollowed out and fitted with engines and weapon systems, their irregular surfaces bristling with gun emplacements like spines on some monstrous beast. We are being instructed to follow them to the capital, Quix reported, translating the incoming transmission. Any deviation will be met with immediate destruction. Reply ordered Thraxis Karn. We have no choice. For the next 2 hours, our transport descended through Draconian space under armed escort. The tension in the cabin was thick enough to cut with a vibro blade. Perhaps this would be a good time for a briefing, Morgan suggested, breaking the uncomfortable silence. First, Hunter, could you explain the political situation we are entering? Who are the major factions? What are their positions? I admired her composure, if not her survival instincts. Most beings wouldn't engage a clearly agitated Draconian in conversation. To my surprise, Thraxis Karn responded calmly. 2 major factions. Mine, the traditionalists, believe in the ancient laws. Rule through proven strength, wisdom, and honor. The supremacists, led by War Chief Varkos, believe Draconians should conquer rather than cooperate. They see the Federation as weakness. And the average Draconian citizen? Morgan asked. Where do they stand? Thraxis made a sound that might have been a laugh. Draconians are not citizens. We are hunters, warriors. We follow strength. Most await the outcome of the trials before declaring allegiance, so it's a power struggle with competing visions for your species' future, Morgan summarized. Conservative tradition versus aggressive expansion. The Draconian tilted its massive head. You understand quickly, human Morgan. It's not so different from conflicts in human history, she replied. Though our succession disputes have taken many forms. Sometimes combat, sometimes democratic elections, sometimes just waiting for the old ruler to die of natural causes. Waiting? Thraxis sounded genuinely puzzled. What honor is there in waiting? Not much, Morgan admitted. But it avoids unnecessary bloodshed. Blood is never unnecessary, Thraxis declared. It waters the tree of strength. I suppressed a shudder. Charming metaphor. Our ship lurched suddenly as the tractor beams from the escort vessels locked onto us, guiding our descent toward the Draconian homeworld. Through the viewports, I caught my first glimpse of Draconia Prime. I'd seen images, of course every Federation intelligence officer had studied the basic topography of member worlds, but nothing prepared me for the reality. The planet was wrong. Not just hostile, but actively malevolent looking. Vast mountain ranges with impossibly sharp peaks rose from boiling seas. Forests of what appeared to be knife-like vegetation covered the equatorial regions, while the polar caps glowed with an unnatural purple luminescence. The atmosphere itself had a reddish tinge, as though the planet were perpetually bathed in blood. By the seven systems breathed Quicks. "This is where they evolved?" "Perfect hunting grounds," Thraxus said with evident pride. "Every living thing must fight to survive. Weakness means death." "No wonder they are so cheerful," I muttered under my breath. Our ship descended toward an enormous structure carved directly into the side of a mountain. It resembled a massive skull, with landing bays positioned where eye sockets would be. Subtle. "The Grand Hunter's Fortress," Thraxus explained. "Seat of draconian power for 12,000 years. "It's impressive," Morgan offered diplomatically. "It is built from the bones of the Ancient Ones," Thraxus said casually. "The first sentient species to evolve on our world." "And what happened to them?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "We ate them," Thraxus replied matter-of-factly. "They were intelligent but physically weak, a poor evolutionary strategy. None of us had a response to that. Our ship landed with a heavy thud in one of the eye socket bays. A squad of armed draconians immediately surrounded the vessel. "Mom." "Remember," Thraxus warned as the airlock cycled, "you are under my protection as honor guests. Speak only when addressed directly. Show no fear, they can smell it. And whatever happens, do not run. Nothing triggers our hunting instinct faster than fleeing prey." "Wonderful advice," I said, my mandibles clicking nervously. "Don't be afraid while surrounded by giant predators who consider showing fear a dinner invitation." "You will be fine, Coordinator Vex," Morgan said with inexplicable confidence. "Just follow the first hunter's lead." The airlock door opened with a hiss, and we descended into the heart of draconian power. The interior of the fortress was as barbaric as I'd feared. Massive halls lined with weapons, trophies, and what appeared to be preserved remains of various species. The lighting came from bioluminescent creatures trapped in transparent containers living light fixtures. The air was hot, humid, and carried the unmistakable metallic scent of blood. Our escort led us through winding corridors into an enormous central chamber. Dozens of draconians lined the walls, each more heavily armed and armored than the last. At the center stood a raised dais with what could only be described as a throne made from interlocking bones and metal. Upon this gruesome seat lounged a draconian even larger than Thraxus Karn. Its scales were midnight black with jagged red patterns, and one eye was scarred closed. Multiple horns protruded from its skull in a crown-like formation. "Lord Chief Varkos," Thraxus growled, stopping at a respectful distance from the dais. "First Hunter," the enthroned draconian replied, voice like grinding stones. "You return from your Federation mission with what? These insignificant creatures? This is your solution to our succession crisis?" "They are Federation representatives," Thraxus stated firmly, "here to witness the trials and formalize relations with the rightful successor." Varkos laughed, a sound like tectonic plates shifting. "There will be no trials. I have claimed leadership by right of strength. 7 clan chiefs already kneel to me, and 8 stand with tradition," countered Thraxus. "The ancient laws must be followed." "Ancient laws," spat Varkos, "written when draconians were confined to one world. We are meant for greater things. The galaxy fears us as they should. Why play diplomatic games when we could simply take what we want?" The surrounding draconians rumbled in mixed agreement and dissent. Clearly the room was divided. "Because that path leads to destruction," Thraxus replied. "The Federation's combined might would eventually overwhelm even draconians. We are fierce, but not numberless." "Cowards talk," snarled Varkos, rising to his full, terrifying height. "Perhaps you have spent too much time among the soft species. You smell of fear, First Hunter." The tension in the chamber thickened. Even with my limited understanding of draconian culture, I recognized a direct challenge when I heard one. Thraxis Karn's posture shifted subtly, muscles coiling like springs. I smell only ambition unchecked by wisdom, war chief. Enough, roared Varkos. I did not permit your return to hear Federation propaganda. Even the decision is made. Draconia will expand by force if necessary. These Federation representatives will witness our strength, then return to spread word of our intentions. And what exactly are those intentions? The voice calm, clear, and unmistakably human cut through the tense atmosphere like a laser through fog. Every draconian head in the chamber swiveled toward Morgan, who had stepped forward beside Thraxis Karn. For a moment I was certain we were about to witness the shortest diplomatic career in Federation history. What, growled Varkos dangerously, is this tiny creature? I am Specialist Tessa Morgan, she replied, meeting those terrifying eyes without flinching. Human representative of the Galactic Federation. It speaks, Varkos said with evident surprise. And with such boldness for something so breakable. Humans compensate for physical fragility with other attributes, Morgan replied, including the ability to recognize patterns. And I see a pattern here that concerns me. The chamber fell silent. Even I was stunned by her audacity. Explain yourself, tiny human, Varkos demanded, more curious than angry. You speak of strength as the only virtue, Morgan said. But from what I understand of draconian history, your greatest leaders combine strength with wisdom, the ability to know when to fight and when to forge alliances. True apex predators don't waste energy on unnecessary hunts. Murmurs rippled through the assembled draconians. The human speaks our history, rumbled an older draconian from the sidelines. The Grand Hunter himself taught this wisdom, Varkos snarled. And the Grand Hunter is dead. Times change. New strength rises. New strength, yes. New wisdom. That remains to be seen, Morgan replied. War Chief, you clearly possess physical power. But leadership requires more. The Federation respects strength, but allies itself with wisdom. We need no allies, Varkos roared. Everyone needs allies, Morgan countered calmly. Even apex predators. On my world there was a saying, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. We are not wolves, sneered Varkos. We are draconians. Yet the principle applies to all predators, Morgan persisted. Strength without purpose, without strategy, eventually fails. The truly powerful know when to conserve their strength, when to hunt, and when to form packs. The chamber had fallen completely silent. I could scarcely believe what I was witnessing, a human, the lowest-ranked member of our delegation, lecturing draconians on predatory strategy. More incredibly, they were listening. Thraxis Karn stepped forward, positioning himself beside Morgan. The human speaks truth. This is why I brought her here. The Federation offers not submission, but partnership, equals in different domains. The partnership suggests equal value, scoffed Varkos. What value could this fragile creature possibly offer draconians? Perspective, Morgan answered simply. Sometimes the smallest creature sees what the largest misses. In human history, our greatest leaders weren't always the strongest physically. They were the ones who understood power in all its forms. Varkos descended from his throne, approaching Morgan with predatory intent. I held my breath, certain we were about to witness violence. Instead, the massive draconian circled her slowly, examining her from all angles, just as Thraxis had done on our station. You fear me, Varkos observed, yet you stand your ground. Why? Because running wouldn't help, Morgan replied honestly. And because showing fear would undermine my message. Which is? That true strength lies in making the right choice, not just the most aggressive one. Varkos completed his circle, coming face to face with Morgan. The size difference was absurd, a mouse confronting a dragon. The trials require a test of strength, wisdom, and vision, Varkos said slowly. Thraxis challenges my claim through traditional channels. Very well, I accept, but with one condition. Thraxis Karn nodded cautiously. Name it. Varkos's reptilian mouth curved in what might have been a smile. The human will be your advocate. If she truly believes in your wisdom approach, let her defend it before the clan chiefs. I nearly collapsed from shock. This was unprecedented in draconian politics, an alien species participating in their sacred succession rituals. Agreed, said Thraxis without hesitation. Agreed, echoed Morgan, though I detected the slight quaver in her voice that betrayed her true nervousness. Then it is settled, declared Varkos. The trials begin tomorrow at first light. The clan chiefs will judge who best represents draconian future, strength against wisdom, traditional combat, and the human's words. As the assembly dispersed, I hurried to Morgan's side. Have you completely lost your mind? I hissed. Do you have any idea what you have just done? Prevented an immediate war? She suggested with that infuriating human optimism. Dragged yourself into the deadliest political contest in the galaxy. I countered. The trials aren't debates, they are blood sports. Actually, interrupted Thraxis Karn, looming over us both, the human has given us a chance. Varkos expected me to refuse his terms, giving him grounds to declare me coward. Instead, we have forced him to honor tradition. But Morgan knows nothing about I began. I know enough, she interrupted, and what I don't know, First Hunter Thraxis will teach me. Tonight. The Draconian nodded. We have until dawn. As Thraxis led us to our quarters' heavily guarded chambers deep within the fortress, I couldn't help but marvel at the bizarre turn of events. You realize, I said to Morgan as we settled into the alien accommodations, that if you succeed, you will have fundamentally altered draconian politics. And if you fail. We all die horribly, she finished cheerfully. Yes, I'm aware of the stakes. And yet you volunteered for this? She shrugged. Someone had to. Besides, I have spent years studying their culture. This is just field research with extremely high stakes. Your species is insane, I declared. Maybe, she agreed with a smile. But we are surprisingly good at surviving anyway. The next morning, as we entered the ancient trial grounds, an arena carved from volcanic rock at the peak of the fortress mountain, I watched Morgan walk confidently alongside Thraxis Karn, his head held high despite being dwarfed by the massive draconians surrounding us. Against all logic, against all probability, the lowest-ranked human in the Federation had somehow become the central figure in draconian succession politics. As she took her place in the ancient speaker's circle, ready to advocate for Thraxis Karn's vision of draconian future, I realized something profound. Humans were far more dangerous than their soft exteriors suggested. Not because they were strong or naturally armed, but because they were audacious enough to believe they could change anything, even the destiny of the galaxy's apex predators. And somehow, impossibly, they might just be right.